Hello and welcome to Agency Office Hours for February 2025. I'm Karl Sakas, Agency Advisor. We have a special guest today focused on helping you write a book for your agency's business development. We'll introduce him in just a moment, but we're here every month, every second Tuesday live, and of course on video on YouTube. If you hear advice that's helpful to you, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button so that you can hear about more things in the future. All right. Well, first up, we have a fireside chat with our guest, Henry DeVries. Henry is the CEO of Indie Books International and the author of many books, including Marketing with a Book for Agency Owners. I've got my copy right here, although you could also get it in other forms too. To discuss writing a book for agency business development. I'm a big fan of the topic. My fourth book is about to come out. If you're joining us live, we will take audience questions, so feel free to share those in chat, and our producer Kate will help sort through the questions. I'll also share a free resource if you're looking to sell your agency, my exit plan template to help you get started on that process. And along the way, I'll share some lessons about my own experience writing books for BizDev. Remember, since we're recording, don't share anything out loud that you don't want to become public. And if you're joining live, you'll get the recording right away. A good reason to RSVP, whether you are joining live or not, you get early access to the video. All right. Well, uh, our guest today is Henry DeVries, an expert at helping agency owners turn their expertise into powerful books and coaching them through the process and showing them how to use their books to grow their businesses and land speaking gigs. Henry, welcome to Agency Office Hours.
Carl, I'm so excited to be here today to share some insider tips and tricks and tactics with agency owners, my favorite people in the world.
There we go. I think you mentioned you are a recovering agency owner. Is that correct?
Yes, I was president of two agencies, one owned by somebody else, and I helped grow that to 40 million. And we were in the Ad Age 500 as one of the 500 largest agencies in the world. And I owned 0% of that agency. So I formed my own lemonade stand of an agency and found out it's much better to own 100% of a lemonade stand than manage 100% of someone else's agency and just send bags of gold to them.
There we go. There we go. I think that's something that re can resonate with everyone on the call. So,
But Carl, my boss is a jerk. But
you,
that's
you know,
that's something
I
else I'm working on too.
I did have a I asked potential clients how their agency got started, and one agency owner said, she said, if my boss is going to be an idiot, I will be that idiot. So
Excellent.
there we go. All right. And again, if people are joining live, if you have questions, share them in chat. Kate, as producer, will help us sort through those. But Henry, first question is this: writing a book. What is the number one reason why agency owners should consider writing a book?
You can't spell the word authority without the word author. And agency owners, to get more impact, more influence, more income, need to be an authority in a certain space, either for what they do or who they do it for. The niche, the riches and niches strategy we all hear about. But
Yep.
there's also riches in having a certain skill set, a certain deliverable, and you can also niche in that way.
Got it. So being seen as an authority, being an author is a way to accelerate getting there. Because I guess if you are an authority but people don't know it, it's like it isn't there at all.
Being an authority, and I grew up on a horse ranch and cattle ranch in California, but talk about the horses. If we wanted a horse to come up to us, we put a carrot in the palm of our hand. I did not chase horses around the corral with a carrot. That's
Yes.
not the way to do it. So that's not the way to be attractive to prospective clients, right fit clients, the ones we want, not the clients from
Mhm.
hell.
Yes.
So we don't chase them. we show that we're an authority. We give away valuable information that helps them solve their problems in general. And the more we do that, the more are attracted to us and want to know what we could do for them.
Makes sense. And to elaborate a bit on that, how does a book change how agency owners attract business? Maybe not a literal carrot, but what does that change?
Yeah. Well, you leverage the book, you do all sorts of things. I like to say we never wait to be discovered. We're not like the starlet that gets off a bus in Hollywood, goes down to the soda fountain and waits for the producer to discover them. That's not how we do it. We use the book as a gift that we send out. We use the book to get on podcasts. That's a good thing to do. Get on stages, speaking platforms, and present our expertise that way. And there's other ways we can leverage the book, but there's just something magic in this world, better than PhD and how many years you've been doing this. Oh, I like to tell people I've been golfing longer than Tiger Woods. That
Mm.
doesn't make me a better golfer than Tiger Woods.
Okay.
It's what you can deliver. So the book helps people see in print. And by the way, um, Karl, you were kind to say you have my book. I know that's code for I haven't read your book all the way through yet. I'm going to get to it
I've
one day.
started it. I've started it.
It's still, but it got me on this podcast, and that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So we have a question from one of the live audience members, Emily. Emily asked, this is about how much to share. Emily's question is this. How much actual strategy and tactics should you include when writing a book? Should you dangle a carrot or give away the farm?
Emily, it's a great question, and one I'm often asked. I did a 10-year, $10 million research study around this and found out we cannot give away too much expertise because that's how to solve things in general. So we talk about our strategies and tactics. There is no real secret sauce that any of us has. Um, if you remember an old movie, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, people who worked at burger joints said, "What's your secret sauce?" "Oh, it's ketchup and mayonnaise." "What's your secret sauce?" "Oh, it's mustard and ketchup." There's no secret sauce in marketing. It's out there. It's applying it to their specific situation. I had one client and their book was a bestseller and Merck was paying them, $5,000 to come in and consult. And I said, "Do you ever wonder why Merck will pay you that kind of money when you gave all your best thinking away in your book?" She says, I wonder about that a lot. And I said, because they don't want to make a mistake. It's the dirty little secret of clients. They don't want to do it themselves. They
Hmm,
want the expert, the authority to guide them so they don't make a mistake in doing it. So it's applying it to their specific situation is what gets a return on investment here. And in our study, we found that the agencies that did this got an ROI of 400 to 2,000%. That's 4 to 20x times of what they put into the book marketing campaign.
that is a great ROI. So, speaking of investment, one of the investments, of course, in writing a book is time. So, question about time management, and we'll get into further specifics, but, I know some people are hearing things and they're like, okay, I'd love to have a book. I don't know how I'd make time to write a book. So the question is, what is your advice to someone who says, I just don't have the time to write a book?
I have 9 ways busy agency owners can write a book that'll attract right fit clients. Shall I share?
Go for it.
Well,
Yes.
there's blog to book. You can do a blog, a series of articles. You get enough of these, compile them into a book. I call that the Julia and Julia approach after that movie about somebody who did a blog about cooking every recipe in Julia
Yeah.
Child's cookbook. There's the co-author approach. I interviewed Ken Blanchard, one of the most successful business authors of all time. He sold about 25 million books. He's in the Amazon Hall of Fame for that. And he said, "Henry, I haven't written, any books." And I said, "Ken, you're pulling my leg. You've written 50." He said, "No, I co-authored 50 books. I
Mm,
know what I know. I want to bring in somebody else and see what they know. And then also, there's two of us that are promoting the book. It magnifies our platform.
Mm.
I also call that the gym buddy approach. If you want to really be
Accountability.
regular in your gym
Yeah.
workouts, get a buddy to go with you.
Yeah.
There's a developmental editor. Um, my nickname is the Charles approach because Charles Dickens, in addition to a famous editor, he would be a developmental editor, which is somebody who brainstorms with another author
Mm.
and strategizes with them, somebody to bounce things off of, but doesn't get a co-author status or named a developmental editor. And Charles Dickens helped people this way. There's the early riser approach. I call that the Deepak Chopra
Mm.
strategy because and I talked about Deepak Chopra and gets up ungodly hour. I think like 4 a.m. It's pre-dawn, and he works for 2 hours, and then at 6 o'clock, goes on with his day.
Got it.
So you can do that. There's a ghostwriter. That's the boo, I'm a ghostwriter. I got a call one day because I am a ghostwriter and I've done hundreds of books. And I get a call and someone says, "Is this Henry DeVries?" I said, "Yes, it is." "Henry DeVries, the ghostwriter?" I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay, my story takes place in an old mansion on Halloween. There's a thunderstorm. They're holding a seance to contact the departed soul of the former owner." I said, "I got to stop you right there. I'm not that kind of ghostwriter.
Oh,
A
no.
ghostwriter is somebody who will uh, interview you, strategize the book, uh, write a draft of the book, get your comments and feedback, and write it. I do a lot of that when I'm working with CEOs of big companies. It would be management malpractice for them to sit down and write a book.
Mm.
Certainly, people like Bill Gates didn't write his book. Uh, Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, who was one of my first clients, he didn't write his own book. They worked with somebody.
Yeah.
There's the interview to book. This is something where I'll come in and spend several days with somebody. We'll plot out a table of contents, and then I will interview them, record them, transcribe them, clean up the transcripts. And I call that first draft the sloppy first copy. But
Mm.
in 3 days, uh, and then some transcription, we have a copy of a book. And that's not 3 full days, by the way. Those are three 3-hour meetings. Podcast to book like this. I
Yeah.
call this the Jody Katz approach. Jody owns an agency in New York City, very successful in the um, fashion and beauty industries. And she had a podcast for a number of years, award winning, and then worked with me. And I turned the transcripts of the podcast into a book that's helping her.
Got it.
Um, Retreats in a cabin. I, I call this the misery approach. You can lock yourself away for a week in a cabin. Uh, you know, uh, Carl, you'd go up near Asheville. I'm in
Mhm.
California. I go to the Sierra. Don't
Uh,
come out to the book's done. I name it the misery approach after the Stephen King novel and movie. Not my recommended way to go. But and by the way, I've done it for clients. But I don't go to a cabin. I go to a resort. I lock
it-
myself up in a seaside resort for a few days. My record
it-
is 6 days, and then coming out with something.
I mean, that makes it certainly less miserable. I had a client who did that where they were struggling to make time on the get up early, what have you. And his approach was book a cabin. He did go with a cabin for a week and he wrote something like 30,000 words. I mean, you got to do planning first. Like it helps if you have the outline and all, but yeah. So what are the other
Well, the
ways?
last one, and Kate, thanks for putting the link up in the chat. Kate, you're good. Yeah, I've written about this for at Forbes.com. Workshop to book, what I call the Tony Robbins approach after the great workshop leader. But many times I've had people record their workshops, we transcribe them, and then I turn that into a book.
Mm.
And I'm working with an agency owner, Colt Briner, right now, and we're working on a book together called Thought Fellowship. Instead of being a thought leader, be a thought follower.
Mm.
And in this book, we're putting on a workshop So right now we're designing the workshop, we're recording the workshop, we'll turn that into a book, and then we'll have a book to offer at future workshops. So that's the workshop to book strategy.
Nice. That ended up being a key thing in my third book, Work Less, Earn More, where I had the general idea of reducing your day-to-day involvement. I had a model for that, but I didn't have the, well, okay, there's the direction to go in. How do you actually get there? And I ended up creating a Work Less, Earn More boot camp. And so I had to create the how-to for the boot camp, and that helped create the book content in the end. So,
Oh, and by the way, I love the title of your book. It's
yes.
very lizard brain. You know, we have the three kinds of brains, and the lizard brain is like fight or flight or feed or whatever. Um, it's just basic caveman kind of like work less, earn more. Me want.
E-
So good job.
Exactly. I mean, two bits on that. In volunteering, I was working on editing the book in between volunteer shift, and my fellow volunteer was like, "Oh, what's the book about? What's it called?" She mentioned that her day job was as a minister, and I said it's called Work Less, Earn More, and she said, "I want that." I mean, everyone would like to work less and earn more. With a twist, though. Right
Yeah.
before recording the audio version of Work Less, Earn More, I was at an event. It was a comedy show with people from I guess, the Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me cast. It was not like the show in person, but it was, people doing comedy who were on the show. And they had Q&A with the audience, and I asked a question. I said, I'm about to record the audio for a book I've written. Do you have any voiceover tips? And a couple people shared tips. One though, one asked, "What is the book about?" And of course, I'm now in an auditorium in front of like 1,000 people. How would I describe it? I mean, because if someone's an agency owner, work less, earn more, that makes sense. And I said, it's for business owners. It's called Work Less, Earn More. And the comedian went right in on that, and he said, because if there's any group that needs to work less and make more money, and the audience starts laughing, it's business owners. Yeah. Uh, but of course, remember, you're writing it for your target audience, not the general audience of 1,000 people in the auditorium.
Can I tell a story about titling a book? Because it's very
Yeah, yeah.
important. I believe in something called the trifecta title. Works three ways. One, it works as a book title, which means usually 3 to 4 words. It works, which yours has four. It works as a workshop title. Work less, earn more. But also you can have a bolt on to that. Work
Mhm.
less, earn more for marketing consultants. Earn
Yeah.
less, work more for agency owners, etc. And then the last thing is you can get the URL, the .com URL for under $20.
Mhm.
So I'm doing a workshop in New York City, and an agency owner comes up and she has a book, but it's struggling.
Hmm.
And I said, "What's the title of your book?" And she says, "It's Lose the Moo Moo." Okay. Everybody
Okay.
kind of lose the moo moo. Okay, what's this? And I said, "What is your book about?" Well, I used to be a producer in television, and now I help people get on television and I prepare them for the interviews. And I said, "Okay, so what's the book about?" Um, well, she says, "Henry, you won't believe it, but every day people come up to me and say, 'How do I get on TV?'" And the audience went, "Oh." I said, "I have a title for your book." She goes, "What?" I said, "You ready?" She goes, "Yeah." It's "How do I get on TV?" And
Yep.
your subtitle is about, industry secrets from a television producer. And she says, "But you don't understand." I said, "What do I understand about the moo moo?" He says, "In chapter 3, and this woman showed up in a moo moo." And I said, "Yeah, they're never going to get to chapter 3. They're
They
never
never
going
buy
to
the
pick up the
book.
book."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, well, I've already printed like 5,000 copies of the book. What do I do?" And I said, "I see, I'm honest, but sometimes brutally honest." I
Yeah.
said, "Fahrenheit 451." Because if you read the Ray Bradbury novel, you know that's the temperature books burn at.
Yeah,
So I
there you
had her
go.
burn her books. I
Oh,
made her cry, which wasn't my intent. But
yeah.
6 months later, run into her and says, I re-released the book, how to get on TV. We can't keep them in stock. Men and women are buying them. I'm getting booked to speak. Thank you. Oh,
Oh.
another thing I say is go for clarity over cleverness.
Mm,
Clarity over cleverness. And what you want, work less, earn more. Uh,
yeah.
how uh, how to market with a book for agency owners. These are not clever titles, but they're very clear on what the promise and the outcome is.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, speaking of outcomes, what are some of the biggest mistakes agency owners make when it comes to trying to turn their book into getting clients, into clients?
Yeah, the biggest mistake I see is they wait to be discovered, and
Hmm.
we don't get discovered. So, like we have minimum daily requirements for our vitamins, like that one a day vitamin we're supposed to be taking.
Yep.
Um, I have minimum monthly requirements. One, send 20 copies of the book out a month.
Mm.
And who do I send it to? People who could book you as a speaker, put you on
Mhm.
a podcast, or become a client.
Okay.
Also, you can send postcards out. You take the cover of your book, you make a postcard out of it. Vista print we use, it's pretty economical. And then on there, it says, if you would be open to a conversation about booking me as a speaker, booking me as a guest, about exploring becoming a client, these different messages.
Yeah.
But if is a magic word, it's a knock at the door and
Mm.
conversation. All you're asking for is a conversation. It's not,
Yeah.
will you hire me? It's, would you have a conversation with me? And sending those out. Then the next thing is at least 2 speaking engagements a month. Many more people will be impacted by hearing about the book than reading the book. And
Mm.
that's okay. The book got you there. Now, there will be people who'll show up and they'll have your book and they'll have post-its on it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about chapter 7. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, but that's so rare.
Yeah.
Uh, um, it's to get a conversation and
Mm.
to build relationships. So, Karl, you and I are building a relationship here,
Yeah.
and that's benefiting both of us. And that's what being an author is also about. I say leverage the relationships to get in front of more people. And the more people you can talk about how to solve their problems in general,
Yeah.
the more will hire you for the specifics.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, I mean, speaking of specifics, what about choosing a topic? What is your advice on choosing the right topic for your book?
Yeah. The topic revolves around, and don't be like that person who said, I want to do one on interior decorating. And what do you do? Well, I'm a direct marketing agency owner. Okay, there is no connection.
No, no.
So don't write about what you're interested in. Write about what people want.
Mm.
And you do research. I advise people, I teach a class 7 times a year. It's online, and there's 7 questions you have to answer before you write a book. The first
Okay.
one is, who is the book for? What
Yes.
is this group? Oh, it's for everybody. Yeah, it is not for 8 billion people. Who is the book for? Number two, what is the specific problem that the book solves? We're in the problem solving business. Before I wrote uh, Marketing with Book for Agency Owners, I did research, I found research, and for 2 out of 3 agency owners, their number one concern, their number one pain is, how do I get enough right fit prospects?
Yes.
They've always got to feed the engine. The money making machine needs fuel.
Yep.
Uh, and then number two problem, and this was 50%,
Mm.
not enough time. Not enough time to do business development. Well, man, those two things are fighting at each other. You don't have enough time to get more clients, but you want more clients. So a book leverages time,
Got it.
and it leverages time because you can get others to help you do it. But you're looking for that problem. And this crazy thing I have people do, and this is from my market research background.
Uh-huh.
interview in depth 9 prospects
Hmm.
about pains and problems. Um, we found that 9 good depth interviews will produce more valuable information than 9 focus groups with 10 people each.
Hmm.
And that's backed up by research out of the University of Michigan. So, problems, we're problem solving people. And that's what are the problems that you get hired to solve? That's a good indication of what the book should be about.
That makes sense. And if, to the first question of who is the audience, if you're struggling to answer that, that may be a sign that your agency is poorly positioned, right? If you're not clear, or if your target audience is B2B, that is an enormous segment. I mean, there are agencies that are like, we're B2B agencies.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to go narrower than B2B alone.
So can I give away $20 right now?
Sure.
Kate, could you help me? Um, put if they want a free copy of Marketing with a Book for agency owners, to send me an email.
Mhm.
And in chapter 5, I have 10 questions you ask yourself to figure out the market niche. And there are questions like, are there enough of them?
Yeah.
And do they have a problem you can solve? And can you make money solving that problem?
Mm.
Um, an old-timey book. I know we might have some Gen Zs here and they don't like old-timey books, but there's an old-timey book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And I can boil that book down to a couple of sentences. It's find something people want, not need.
Mm.
Find out something people want that you can give them at a value to them, meaning they'd be willing to pay that much for that, at a
Right.
profit to you.
Mm.
And then, as the cliche goes, lather, rinse, repeat. And you just keep doing that over and over again. So
Yes.
that's the secret of that. But I've got 10 questions to help you flesh that out.
Okay. And so the $20 giveaway, how will
The
that
book's
work?
$20, so if
Oh,
you send me an email, I'll send you the $20 book.
all right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, are you, is it okay if Kate shares your email address in chat
Yeah,
for
I shared it, but she can repeat
Oh,
it
oh, great.
and say
Okay.
book offer. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So, the question about, in product development, you talk about the minimum viable product, the
Yeah.
MVP. What is your advice around what is the minimum viable book if someone is looking to get started that still can be a game changer for the agency?
Yeah. I say 20,000 words, plus or minus 5 is is the range. So I don't like to go under 15,000 words.
Mm,
Um, I don't like to go under 120 pages. But you don't need, like my Warren Buffett book, you don't need 55,000 words and
got
200
it.
pages. They're not going to
Oh,
read that.
no.
Um, So if you look at the Ken Blanchards of the world, all their books are under 20,000 words now because of the
Mm,
short attention span. We call it the tarmac book. You can skim read it from one airport to the next airport, from tarmac to tarmac, and get the
yes.
gist. And what you want for people to say is, well, I should talk to that person. One of my authors got a six-figure contract because of his book. I read the CEO read the book, wanted to meet with him, flew him out, and he was curious. He said, what was it in the book that convinced you? And he
Yeah.
said, oh, it was this. And he gave this story. That was on page 2. The CEO got to page 2 and said, get this guy in here.
Wow.
Let's hire him. So
That's
that can be
great.
the power of the book.
Agreed on keeping things on the relatively shorter side. My next book, Calm the Chaos, 10 Ways to Run a Better Agency, is about 22,000 words. So it's 6 by 9, it ends up being about 120 pages or so.
Yep. Yep.
You could read it in a couple hours and then refer back to it. It's not as overwhelming. I will say I did send a copy of my pocket guide, Made to Lead, to a client, and he's like, I made it halfway through. He's like, to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I got halfway through. But yeah, I don't know. I just like at night, I just want to like watch a video about something and go to bed, and all. That book is 60 pages, so and it's like pocket size. So,
Yeah.
but as you said, if it's good, if there's good content, people aren't going to necessarily read the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. They still may hire you.
Yeah, and if you don't want to, the 60 pages is a booklet. Um, if you want to have that much content, but have it look more like a book, you can go 5 by 8,
Hmm.
have outs, take from the book. It's like in magazine ads, articles in Cosmo or Redbook or whatever. There's
Yeah.
big fonts, and you go, oh, and you can have pages with that. You can have quotes that take up whole pages, stretch it out. We call it book hamburger helper, uh, but it's still a very skimmable book.
Yeah.
Um, I for a marketing giant, um, I wound up doing a series of books for them.
Okay.
Um, I think I'll leave their name out because of the joke that's coming on this is
Okay.
that, but they're a $1 billion marketing services company.
Mm.
And their series of these booklets were by um, the marketing leaders at this company.
Okay.
I wrote every one of them. They just gave me a
Uh,
title.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was cracked up that like, oh yes, the marketing thought leaders there came up with this series, but um, but they were the first ones to help me do the research, and they got the ROI. That was the first ROI 400 to 2,000%
Yeah.
per book that we got, and then validated with other people. But then success has many parents, so um, I was called into the president and with some other people, and he said, well, we're not sure how much Henry's books in the direct mail
Mm.
created this revenue, or if it was this Peterson.
Yeah.
And the president says, I don't, I don't give a blank. He goes, I just want you to keep doing this over and over and over again.
There we
I
go.
want revenue.
Yes.
I don't care who gets the credit.
There we go. Definitely a good client to have in that case. So, my next question, we're about to have a word from our sponsor, but co coming up after that, my question is this. What separates an effective agency book from one that just sits on a shelf gathering dust? So we'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, me. We're sponsored by Sakas and Company here at Agency Office Hours. If you've been looking to sell your agency at some point in the future, one of the questions you might have is when to get started. I was speaking with an agency owner earlier today where he mentioned that he's looking to sell at some point in the future, maybe in a few years. And I said, uh, you'll want to get started now because acquirers are usually looking at the past 3 years of your financials. So if you want to sell in 3 years, like between now and then, those are going to be the numbers that impact your valuation, what you sell for. In contrast, if you want to sell today as soon as possible, it's going to be the past 3 years. There's nothing you can do about those past 3 years at this point. So the sooner you start, the better. The question, of course, is where to start. And that's why I created an exit plan template. It's part of my on-demand workshop, which is called Control and Maximize Your Agency Exit. Deliver that live, and it's now available on demand with 9 speakers, me and others, talking about buying and selling agencies. And you can get the exit plan template from the workshop free of charge as a preview, and it'll help you jumpstart your future planning today. You can sign up, you get instant access. It's really your first step toward creating a smoother, more profitable agency exit. If you're joining us live, we've shared a link to that in chat. If you're watching the video, we have a link to that in the description to get your free exit plan template to sell or prepare to sell your agency. Sooner, better than later. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. So, Henry, effectiveness. What separates an effective agency book from one that sits on a shelf gathering dust?
Yeah. So an effective agency book offers help, not hype. It
Hmm.
is not promotional. It is designed to be problem solving. And there are two ways to write that. You can write about a proprietary problem solving process that you name and trademark, and it has steps, and you show people how to apply that. And then the next thing is human brains are hardwired for stories. So
Hmm.
they won't remember your process, but they will remember your stories on how you took people from problem to solution. As
Yes.
one of my authors, Judy Carter, says, mess to success. So that'll be the next thing. And then the other thing it'll include research, not rehash. So you're
Hmm.
not an echo chamber. You're not just talking about what everybody else talks about. Um, you've done some original research. I mentioned original research that I did, and 10 years, 10, it was actually 3 million, 10 years, $3 million, I'll say, in that research. So they don't want to hear all about the research studies. They want to hear about the findings.
Yes.
And so give them the findings that they can use. So it's not PFA, pull from air. You didn't pull from air, this thing that you're talking about here. Um, you're actually backing things up. And also you're citing sources. I always say some scholarship in a book, maybe 12 to 24 citations. Um, you don't just throw out, well, Harvard research study said. It's like, what Harvard research study? When
Hmm.
was it published? Experts believe, research shows these, not these generalities. Give us some specifics to back up what you're saying.
That makes sense. So if people do want to dig deeper, even if they don't dig deeper, they can see that it's a well-researched, fully thought out
Yeah.
kind of thing. For people who are listening and you're like, I want to do some research, but I don't have, say, a market research background, or I don't necessarily have all the resources for that. Something to consider is the company DataBox. So I've done a couple of research studies with them, and they have something they call benchmark groups. So you can go to benchmarks.databox.com. You can set up a group, and basically people sign up and they connect various accounts. So it could be things related to Google Web Analytics, it could be something related to their finances, and it all gets aggregated. So the idea there is that as more people join the benchmark group, they get instant access to aggregated initial results, and then you can do further research based on what you have. That's something to consider if you're not ready to start a full bore research project. And Databox also talks about leveraging the benchmarks in your business development. So we've got a link for that in chat as well.
If you want a monograph on how to do your own proprietary research study,
Yeah,
and I'm Dutch, so I'm, the F word, frugal. Um, I can share that with people.
please.
But
Yeah, yeah. Or if you share the title and then Kate can share it in chat.
yeah. So, well, you have to ask me for it.
Oh, oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm not going to then put you on a list where, I'm your new best friend. I'm just going to send it to you. I
All right.
don't I don't stalk people. Um, the yeah, but I don't want to also just put something. I have lots of stuff where we give it away on learning
Ah,
centers and things like that. But that one, the monographs, I give out.
got it.
But but the takeaway from it is
Hmm.
a lot of these things are free. You can get secondary research you need at no cost. So my joke is, it's an old joke, but I tell it for a reason.
Hmm.
My joke is, if you ever kill someone, the best place to hide the body is on the second page of a Google search because
Yes.
nobody's looking there.
Yep.
I've gone 80 pages on a Google search and I have found studies that were for sale for $5,000 that were posted for free that deep on the Google search.
Uh-oh.
So now I don't have time for that, Henry. Well, neither do I now. And that's why I have Jasmine Barnes, assistant editor, and I stick Jasmine Barnes on it so you have somebody uh, who's a recent college graduate who, in that book, Who Not How, um, great book, Who Not How, you find your who's. There's someone who loves to dig on Google and the internet to find these things.
Yeah.
Um, don't worry about how you should do it. Find the who to do it, and you pay them, and a lot less opportunity. We talk opportunity cost.
Yes.
I call it malpractice if you're doing things like that and you're an agency owner.
You know,
We know about delegating. That's how we became agency owners.
I, I mean, that is part of why I wrote Calm the Chaos, right? Delegation is a big thing there, but how to do it, right? It's not just saying, well, delegate more. Delegation is complicated, but it's easier when you have the right steps to follow. Um, and ideally, also as an agency owner, you're focused on what I would call your $1,000 an hour activities, things that
Mm,
are worth 1,000 or maybe even more than that, rather than doing everything. So next question is this. You'd mentioned the joke example and things like that. What are the things that, Henry, you find yourself saying over and over again to agency owners or people who run your book? For
sure.
instance, slogans, mottos, what have you?
Yeah, I got 50 of them, but I'll keep it down to a few,
Okay.
Carl. So one is a book is the number one marketing tool for an agency owner. Speaking about the book is the number one business development strategy.
Hmm.
I also say human brains are hardwired for stories, and stories are sticky. Those are what people remember. Um, I also tell people your stories matter. I tell people an agency without a book is like a movie theater without a marquee. Um, oh, any book worth writing is worth writing a first draft that sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are different things that we say around here. So yeah, I wouldn't say I got a million of them, but I got 50.
Yeah, there we go. Well, great selection of some of the key ones. I mean, I'd agree on the bad first draft, and if people are thinking like you need to write sort of your magnum opus, you don't. I mean, I'd say Work Less, Earn More is my most comprehensive book. That's my third book. My first book was on speaking for lead gen, which is a great way to grow your pipeline. That came out in 2015. The advice is helpful also, say, if you want to get on a podcast, things like that, still true today, as well as
Yep.
speaking. But that's a narrower topic, right? I wasn't trying to cover everything in one book. Then it was a short book on leadership and management. I took all of those experiences and experience working with agencies. And 10 years into running my business, that's when Work Less, Earn More came out. So if you're feeling pressure to create the perfect book for everything, it may help to potentially reduce the scope a bit rather than try to cover everything.
I've published 20 books
Yeah?
because, and I mentioned the research study and other things that we've done. So I split it up into 20 different books to
Mm,
look at that because I know what people want
yes.
is not, they don't want this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they want this is one of our agency, no bullshit marketing. How
Yeah.
many pages is this? Uh, yeah, 105 pages.
There we
People
go.
want it in bite-sized chunks. And you
That
can
makes
skim
sense.
that. I mean, the dirty little secret of these books are all of our books, my books, Carl's books, everybody's book, could be 8 pages.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
could boil it down to 8 pages. Here's what you need to know. But a book, you want to flesh it out with the stories, the research, the other things to back it up. Um, but people don't want 700 pages, that's for sure,
No.
um, to wade through it. So, and again, um, meet the reader where they are, not where
Mm.
you think they should be.
Yes. That makes sense, right? You're not writing the book for yourself, you're writing for people who need your help. By the way, you mentioned getting the book done in 8 pages. I mean, technically, with my latest, the table of contents lists the 10 ways. So technically, it could be one page, maybe two, with a little bit more. Yeah, it doesn't have to be everything. So, let's see. How should agency owners use their book to get clients? We've talked a bit about this, but maybe what are some of the smartest ways to get your
Yeah.
book into their hands?
Well, I use a phrase called the Magnificent Seven. So I'll give you the Magnificent Seven, and I named that after well, I like cowboy movies, and there was one in the
Yeah.
60s with Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner, but maybe you like the 2016 version with Chris Pratt and Denzel Washington.
Mhm.
But it's about gunfighters helping to defend this, the peasants and the people in this little
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Um, but my Magnificent Seven is number one, use the book topic to invite people to small scale seminars, Q&As, Zoom, and get them there with LinkedIn.
Okay.
And you're leveraging that book. As you see, I said something here. The magician's going to show his secret when somebody says, "Oh, that book sounds interesting." Um, this piece, a version of the book, because electrons are free and they're
Mm.
immediate, and you can send them out to people. And
Yeah.
again, they can skim it, get what they need if they want to buy one, so they can hold it to their chest at night.
Got it. So sort
That's
of
good
reading
too.
with the
They can do that.
electronic version, and if they want the print version, they can.
Yeah. So number two, get on people's stages.
Mm.
So I think podcasts are the gift that keeps giving. And I don't have a podcast. I have a TV show. Carl, we had you on the TV
Yeah,
show,
just on it.
which is also on Spotify and iTunes. So it is a podcast. Um, this is on a YouTube channel that people can see. Um, that's mine. But then get on other people's. And
Yes.
I, on my TV show, by the way, um, I don't care much about sex. I care about the relationships. So in
Mm.
each guest, I'm building a relationship,
Yeah.
and they're sending it out to their people that they were on it. We show that we send it out to our people to build a relationship, um, and we'll write an article from it for our newsletter. There's all kinds of things to build the relationship. Number that's a
Oh,
so for
we
7 years paid. Oh,
we
go
just
ahead.
had an audio drop. If you don't mind repeating that,
Sure. So number three is get published.
get published. Okay.
And that's a spectrum. I mean, that's books are getting published, but for 7 years, I was paid to write a weekly column for Forbes.com.
Mhm.
And now I'm paid to write monthly for the California Business Journal.
Mm.
And I've done things for Inc.com and CBS Money Watch. But the thing that is free, you can today is a link. And I started my LinkedIn newsletter, Agency Rainmaker, January of 2024. We now
Mm.
have 2,400 subscribers. I didn't do any campaigns to get people,
Wow.
just consistently every week,
Yep.
um, 500 to 600 words to solve a problem. Also, I interview people to put them on there, to honor
Mm.
them, to build relationships.
Yep.
I started my own news pub.
Unfortunately, I think we're having some further audio issues. You mentioned you started what?
A news website called
Yes,
agencyownernews.com.
agency owner news.
And and it's free. It's I don't there's no wall that you have to subscribe to get anything. If you do subscribe, we'll send you out the lead article every week to
Yeah,
tell you in your inbox what's going on. So those are all the things you can do to get published, to
got
share your authority.
it. That makes sense.
And four and five is find a target rich environment.
Mm.
Um, so I created one, my agency Rainmaker forums. You're coming to one. I go to ones, for that other people put on where I can be with agency owners.
Yeah,
And if you volunteer or do pro bono or serve on the marketing committee or the membership committee, do that.
yep. So target rich environment, finding the events, and associations. I'm a big fan of trade association volunteering. I mean, it can be hard work. You need to make sure you find the right group for you.
Sure, and maybe every few years, because you've made a lot of relationships and contacts there. The Widest Net by Pamela Slim, she calls that a watering hole, a
Mm,
pond.
yeah.
So find some other ponds to go to. Um, excuse me. Number six is get on YouTube and have lots of how-to videos on YouTube and
Mm,
talk about the book.
okay.
Um, and then number seven is put on a seminar or a workshop that people would pay money to attend. And
Yes.
the fact that they'll pay to attend is because you're offering valuable proprietary information on how they compare to their peers.
Mm,
So I would want to attend your exit plan workshop because
yes.
I would want to know, how do my successful peers? I can't interview everybody who sold an agency,
No.
and a lot of them will keep it tight to the vest, but you aggregate the tell me.
Kind of aggregated the info and also brought in a panel of agency sellers and buyers sharing what they wish they had known before doing the deal.
Yeah,
It's almost like having a time machine, of like
right,
what would you have done?
right. And that's I don't know your cost structure or anything.
Mm.
I've seen this model before work. There's a book called Wealth Through Workshops, and
Wealth
it's
through
how you give
workshops.
some information away, how you charge for some information, and then you have some bigger offering that people want, but you
Mm.
proved yourself along the way.
Yes.
The first thing out of your mouth wasn't like, "Hey, pay me some money and I'll be your consultant." I
Right.
got a I got a LinkedIn contact, Carl. The
Yeah.
person said that they wanted to be my life coach.
Oh, that was their first
That
message.
was like their first offer, and I said, "You have to buy me dinner and take me dancing before we can talk about you being my life coach."
I'm guessing you didn't hear anything further after that.
No, no, people don't appreciate my sense of humor.
So,
Um, I
but
told somebody on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a three on this, and they shot back, "Why the hostility?" Like,
I mean,
I thought it was candor, not hostility. If
interest.
I'm a three, do you really want to keep pursuing me? But the
Yeah.
question should have been, what would you have to hear to get you from a three to a seven?
Right, in terms of their level of your level of interest, things like that.
Yeah,
They weren't
because maybe they
uh,
had it, but you know,
any
want me to be your life coach? That's not the opening offer.
no, no. Any final points on this before, we can share how people can get in touch, learn more about what you're doing and how you could help them. Anything else you'd share on that?
Yes. In addition to the book, either do a TEDx talk on an idea worth sharing related to the book, or
Mhm.
do a TEDx like talk.
Got it.
So, for instance, Carl, you're doing a TEDx like talk at my agency Rainmaker conference in February. It's going to be
Yes,
15 minutes. We're going to produce the video for you that you can share, because being an author is nice, but to get booked as a speaker, they also want to see you speaking in front
exactly.
of an audience and connecting with an audience. I mentioned the postcards. I mentioned sending the books out, get them in the hands of decision makers. Um, and something new, I saw some, I don't know, are you going to ask me the question? Is there anything new that we're working on?
Yeah, yeah. What are you excited about?
Well, we have another niche, and it's just for the people who are in the medical health space.
Okay.
So we call it Health Authority.
Mm.
And we're having a Health Authority forum in September at the University of California, San Diego. And we're bringing in marketing experts, people who are in dentistry, psychology, um, pharmacy, other things where
Mm.
they advise people on the business of health. And
Yeah.
we're very excited about that. Um, and that's something new that we're doing. So if anybody's interested in that, they can contact me and we'll send them out information.
Awesome. Awesome. Anything you'd add about what agency owners can expect if they were to come to the Agency Rainmaker event here in late February, early March 2025?
Um, Thank you for asking. I'm so excited about this because people tell us your events are not like other events that I go to.
Hmm.
And that's because that goes all the way back to the word forum. I didn't want a conference. I didn't want a seminar, a workshop. I didn't want to talk at people for 2 days.
Yeah.
I wanted to get people talking to each other. So that's what forum means. You're going to have opportunity to speak and share and be on panels and talk about it and then have breakouts with people. There's going to be opportunities to network. We have the meal brought in, so you can have that time to be there. We give you time to go out and have breakfast or a dinner with people if you want.
Yeah.
So people, it's a kumbaya thing. People come back and say, "Okay, that's different. That's amazing."
Mm.
Um, I have authors and famous keynote speakers who ask, "Could we come back? Could we just come to another one just as
Wow.
an attendee?"
Yeah.
Uh, and we say, we'd love to have you
Nice.
because the competitive advantage that I created with Indie Books International is what we
Mhm.
call the Indie Books family. And
Mm.
it's up to 200 authors and experts who cross promote, they amplify each other's work, they get each other invited to speak at places, they co author books together. Um, I saw this early in my career when I got published by this one um, publishing house, and they had an authors conference, and it
Oh,
was so successful. I bonded with 20 other authors, and it was so
yeah.
successful that publishing house never did it again.
Oh no.
And I said, no,
Mm.
that's where we're going to be different. So now we're up to two a year, but we've done a dozen of these, and we also bring in people like Ken Blanchard, Tony Alessandra, um, other best-selling, authors and experts. Patricia Fripp, the first president of the female president of the National Speakers
Yep.
Association. We have some world champions of public speaking. So we have some other people to help you have the connections to get on the speaking circuit, to get paid five to $10,000 to give a speech, but more important, to be in front of an audience that are right fit prospects that can hire you.
There we go. Well, I was going to ask you, how can people get in touch? Though Kate has already shared that in chat. Uh,
Yep.
things around, for instance, rainmakerforum.com or indiebooks, INTL, like international.com. Anything else you'd add if people want to get in touch?
Sure, that book kickoff class, that's 365, but all they have to do is mention the word Carl, and I'll
Oh,
comp them into that class.
oh, well, thank
And
you.
that's on the indiebooksinternational.com/events. We have a monthly Q&A where I have some authors, myself, or my associate editor, and you can ask us any question about writing, planning, publishing, promoting books. We're on there free every month. Um, and then we're going around the country with our marketing with a book and speech summits. So I'll be in uh, New York City in March, and then I'll be in Boston in June. So we go around the country,
Yeah,
and you can come spend 2.5, 3 hours with us, and we'll give you all the insider secrets we've got on how to market with a book and a speech.
nice. I was going to ask a final question, which was if someone is looking to write a book, what should their first step be? It sounds like they should go to your monthly event and ask questions there. Is there any,
Because it's that other F word, free.
uh,
It's free.
there
Um,
we go.
you can get free advice. If you want to have a strategy call with me,
Mhm.
um, I call it a book chat. Yeah, I'll have a strategy call with you. It's a no selling zone. No cost, no selling, no kidding. And we'll talk about your goals and your assets and what roadblocks you got to get past and how others have gotten from where you are to where you want to go. Again, the more people you help in general, the luckier I get with people hiring me for the specifics.
There we go. I mean, I
Our
think
brand is generosity.
that's a great way to operate. Certainly, I'm a fan of that myself. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. That wraps up today's agency office hours. Henry, thank you so much for joining, and thanks everyone for joining us live as an audience member or on the video. We'll be back every second Tuesday, and of course on the video. Thanks everyone, and good luck out there.